come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I say, welcome to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. As I sit in the sumptuous and palatial SHR Media Network studios, bathroom that way, front door that way, sleeping quarters that way, coffee maker that way, refrigerator that way, 2 miles to the west is the Bill Mill, the evil, the locus of evil on the entire left coast, the capital of Fornicalia, Shatramento, the Bill Mill, where late at night when I get through, you can smell the stench of sulfur and brimstone. It's terrible. You got to belly up to the bar. We've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back. Tashay is going to be your bartendress tonight. She pours for the best of them, and the lava lamp is, in fact, on, lighted to my left, your right. That means you can listen and chat at shrmedia.com. You can watch on the SHR Media Facebook page, YouTube channel, and Periscope. We don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the handle. Don't forget to tip your waitress. Tonight, in the saloon, a rather unique individual that I've never had the pleasure of speaking to before, and that would be Mike Moore, basically the creator of TruePundit.com, and he's also got a new book out called Paine, How We Dismantled the FBI in Our Pajamas. And I'm glad you're watching tonight because this is, let's make no mistake. Let's start at the start. Until November 6th, it's no shock that I'll be doing my best to point out the obvious. There's great news out there for conservatives. We got to remain positive. We got to get out and vote. We cannot afford to be smug or complacent with that win recently with Associate Justice Brett Kavanaugh. This is the time that we have to double down on resolution to commit to supporting anything and everything that isn't a Democrat, a leftist, or the American media maggots. We can't afford to listen to the bad news that leftists are going to ratchet up and continue to spew about conservatives and our chances in November. Don't trust them. Don't listen to them. We know they lie, they're biased, and they publish falsehoods with impunity. The American media maggots, they're nothing more than the publishing arm of the Democrats and the leftists. We got to vote red November 6th, period. We got to keep the House. We got to keep the Senate. We got to mail in our absentee ballots. We can let absolutely nothing deter us from appearing on the polls, at the polls, November 6th. No matter the circumstances, no matter the weather, it doesn't matter. Leftists, Democrats, and the American media maggots want to destroy conservatives and conservatism. They want to eliminate us. They want to hurt us politically and physically these days. We can't let that stand. We got to be committed. We have to show resolution, fortitude. We got to stand up for America and for the U.S. Constitution and its Bill of Rights. Because if you don't, nobody else is going to. Anyway, when I speak to Mike Moore, who basically got outed and outed himself, he's got 2, perhaps 3 stellar revelations to make tonight. That, and I got to tell you, as I'll tell him later, up until I was introduced to him by Carrie Baxter Donovan, who kind of helped to coordinate this whole thing, I had no idea who he was. So we're going to talk to him tonight for the entire hour, I should like to mention.
Hello.
Mike Moore, is this you, sir?
Yo.
Outstanding. Great. I can hear you pretty well. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good. Outstanding.
Like I was saying, folks, tonight we have what I consider to be the rather extraordinary opportunity to speak to an individual not terribly dissimilar to a young man that I've spoken twice here in the saloon, Brandon Straka, the creator of the Walk Away movement. Both men were affected negatively by certain events, and rather than let those events just pass by, they decided to do something about it. The man I'm talking about right now is Mike Moore. He's an individual aligned with a name that most of us do recognize, Thomas Paine, and most Americans who actually managed to learn something in school link the name Thomas Paine to the pamphlets Common Sense and also to the American Crisis. He's also what some people consider to be one of the original founding fathers of the United States of America. Well, in a nutshell, Thomas Paine is credited with being a patriotic inspiration to the Declaration of Independence from Britain in 1776. And of course, he was a lot more than that, and so is Mike Moore. So let's fast forward 242 years into an era of political insanity, upside-down facts, fake news, chaos, turmoil, leftist political protests, anarchy, violence, and once reliable bastions of American confidence. Many of the alphabet agencies are now shadows of their former selves and basically, in my opinion, unworthy of American trust and confidence from the top. How did it get this way? What changed? Why has it changed? How did it affect our guest tonight, Mike Moore? And what has he done about it? And so with that in mind, I would like to definitely welcome Mike Moore, once known as Thomas Paine, to the saloon. And welcome this evening, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It seems that most of my guests, for whatever reason, hail from the East Coast, and the time difference is obviously very significant. So first, I'd like to thank you for staying up so late to talk to us tonight.
Yes, it's not a problem at all.
Let's get into the obvious first, things to mention up front. You just had your book published yesterday, and it's entitled Paine, How We Dismantled the FBI in Our Pajamas. So just to get it out of the way and let people know up front, where can folks go to get that? Because we'll get into the details of the book in a moment. Where can people go to get your book?
I think they can pretty much get it anywhere, but we're selling it basically on Amazon is the primary place because that's where everybody buys and trades books. So we have a website tied into it. It's FBIPajamas.com. And it takes you right to the ordering area for Amazon. But I think you can go into like a bookstore and order it. You're probably not going to have it on the shelf where you can order it, but you get it a lot quicker through Amazon.
And also for folks that are into it, you can get that book on Kindle, and you can also get it in paperback.
Right.
And also very important, sir, where can you be found and read on the internet and on social media?
I'm over at truepundit.com. That's our media site, our main media site, and we're at on Twitter at Thomas1774Paine. At Thomas1774Paine, and that's pretty much the main places that I hang out at when it comes to disseminating news and opinion. Everybody has opinion these days, so I tend to throw a few opinions around too.
Yeah, just slightly. You're the founder and the creator of the entire website, truepundit.com, are you not also?
I'm one of them. Definitely, I'm the front man, but I'm not the only guy, for sure. So we keep the other people kind of in the shadows because bad enough that now I came out public with the book before the book, and I'm comfortable with that now. I think it was time to come out public, and I'm comfortable with taking the heat. I've taken the heat for 20, 30 years in Intel and previously in journalism, and it's a process. Being able to be criticized and to take criticism without snapping. So, kind of the the whipping boy now for the mainstream media. Whatever they want to, say or do, it doesn't really affect what we do, which is good. And I think there's a lesson in that shouldn't really let people's criticism dictate on how you behave as a professional. You just go about your business, and that's what separates the professionals from the folks that may think that they're professional, but they really don't conduct themselves in that regard.
You have, Mike Moore, what I consider to be two rather startling revelations made. I know for one, because I haven't read your book. It just came out yesterday. But I know at least one of them is in your book, and another one you made present on truepundit.com at least a couple of weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm ready if you're ready. As I said, thank you kindly for being here tonight directly after the publishing of your new book and for giving us so much of your time. By the way, I pre-ordered your book this past weekend. I haven't had the chance to read it yet, but from everything that I've seen and heard, let me go back to your author page, or let me go back to the book itself. And people who don't know you, and I have to be honest, Mike Moore, I have not heard of you, and I really haven't heard much of True Pundit, and that's one of the primary reasons that I wanted to have you on tonight. Carrie Baxter Donovan introduced me to you.
Yeah, Carrie, she's great.
And once I started to do some background into who you are and where you came from, fuck me, you have a hell of a story. Just as a general background, so that the people here in the audience can understand a little bit about who you are. The book, I think, writes that Mike Thomas Paine Moore serves today as True Pundit's chief muckraker. Moore Paine previously worked, this is important, folks. Listen to this. Moore previously worked for the FBI, the White House, the DEA, among many other intel agencies and private concerns. You're the recipient of the coveted Gerald Loeb Award for Journalism and a 2-time Pulitzer Prize for Investigative Reporting nominee. And I think it's very important that I mention this. You're a certified fraud examiner. You headed anti-money laundering operations for Citi in Chicago, Los Angeles, Delaware. You have expertise in covert telecommunications, counterintelligence, HUMINT, and OSINT intelligence gathering. So I say this as what I consider to be a very important foundation to who you are. So let's assume that me and my audience don't know much about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, like growing up, your education, and how the hell you got into your law enforcement and intelligence-oriented jobs.
Well, I grew up,
and I'm going somewhere with this.
Yeah. Okay, I grew up outside of Philly, right outside of Philly in Delaware County. We call it Delco, where I came from, and it's kind of a gritty place. It can be a gritty place, and I was smash mouth in the 70s and 80s. If you say something, you have to back it up, type thing, and made a lot of good friends there growing up, and Philly's always been a no-nonsense place, at least when it was for me growing up. And so that's kind of the backdrop. And then I got kicked out of my high school because I was, causing trouble and chasing girls and all that stuff. And I was playing football, and I wasn't really I was a trouble kid. My dad left when I was 12, and so I fell into a lot of trouble, like a lot of guys do in that situation. And my uncle sent me away to prep school. He was a Franciscan friar, and he sent me away to prep school. He got arranged a scholarship, so I went away to the middle of Pennsylvania to a place called St. Francis Prep. And I lived there and boarded there. We didn't have any money, but he pulled his connections because the Franciscan friars ran the school. So he pulled his connections, and I went there, and I kind of got on the straight and narrow, started getting good grades, and it wasn't without struggle. I mean, we went back and forth, the Franciscan friars and I, and finally they were able to break me. And so after that, I went to college, and I worked my way through college. We still didn't have any money. My mom worked, raised all my brother, my sister, and myself. We lived in pretty bad areas and things like that because she wasn't making much money. She was a cashier at a grocery store. And so I paid my way through college by working at weekly newspapers.
Okay.
It took me a long way to get through college because I was paying my own way, but I got through. And then I worked a long time at weeklies, and then pretty much the day I graduated, I got hired at a daily newspaper, and really took off from there. Started really kicking ass from there. I was about 25 at the time, and went into journalism. Did a lot of good things there. Made a lot of noise. I was at the Record in Hackensack, New Jersey. Covers North Jersey and New York City, so we were in the New York City metro market and competing against the New York Times and the New York Post and the New York Daily News and the New York Newsday in the mid '90s and late '90s. So it was a great place to learn the New York market, to learn journalism, and I worked my way up from writing obituaries to running the investigative division in about 2 years. And I think we did a lot of good work there. Won a Loeb Award there, along with other writers who were also decorated. 2 Pulitzer Prize nominations for investigative reporting. Didn't win a Pulitzer Prize, but I didn't really care because the Loeb Award is like the second, considered the second best award in journalism, and I was young. So, and I really wasn't about awards, to tell you the truth. I just kind of just wanted to tell people the truth. But then it got harder. The stories got bigger and harder to get into the newspaper because we were ruffling a lot of feathers, and I decided to get the hell out. My wife and I had a newborn son, and between the threats at the newspaper, I was getting like public threats from people, not at the newspaper, I mean from public officials and anonymous threats and stuff like that. And the money, I had met a guy covering North Jersey and New York City who was in Intel, an ex-U.S. Marshal, and a guy who had done work for CIA and a bunch of other people. And he said, you should really break out on your own and form your own intel group and do the same stuff you're doing now. You would make probably 5 times the money. So I took a leap of faith, and I left journalism. And the next day I was working for the FBI on a job, literally the next day, and as a contractor, and we just built up a reputation from there. Like a lot of people talk about Fusion GPS these last couple of years. We were the first Fusion GPS in 1996, 97, 98, 99. We were kind of the grandfather of that model, ex-journalists, ex-federal agents. And that's pretty much how I got into Intel. Does that kind of answer your question?
It does, and thank you for that. And what I'm trying to build up is your background, that you're not somebody that just walked out of the side street somewhere. The point I'm trying to emphasize to everybody is this. You're not a shill for anybody. You're not an ignorant, ill-educated bamboozler who emerged from nowhere. You possess a plus requisite amount of training, education, and experience to back up your stories. You've been vetted, you've been backgrounded, you've been trusted with amounts of classified material due to the nature of your past jobs. And I want people to understand that they need to remember this, and that I want to emphasize this. Your own government trusted you until apparently, in their opinion, you went rogue. So, Mike Moore, pretend I know nothing, that we know nothing. Take me back to the day that your house was raided, and basically the predication for your entire book. Take me back to the time your wife and family found themselves basically at the wrong end of federal government M4 rifles.
Yeah, well, it comes as a surprise, as it does for many people, and some folks are now familiar with my story, and other folks that perhaps are not have heard about Paul Manafort's story. It's kind of similar, where they come into your house pre-dawn, and they rouse you out of bed. My kids were getting ready they came to my house twice. The first time was to serve a search warrant to try to get anything they could find on me. And So I got rousted out of bed. My wife was up getting the kids ready for school, and they came beating on the door. It's like when these guys hit your door, it's like a truck drove through your house. And I mean, it's just really intense. And I was woken up by it. And it's just a really intense thing, man. It's just like 7 loud bangs, it echoes in your head. Still echoes in my head. So, and FBI, they're screaming. They got all the doors covered, and my kids at the time are 12 and 8. My wife's trying to get them ready for school, and on Thursday, my wife's trying to get them ready for school and cooked them breakfast. And the next thing I know, I got guns are pointed at them, guns are pointed at me, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? I was convinced that something we had done for the government maybe went sideways, and somebody got killed, somebody got burnt, somebody got pinched, and ended up ratting me out type thing. And I mean, there's a million things going through my mind at the time. As you can imagine, now I'm in a T-shirt, I got pajama bottoms on. At least I wasn't dressed like Tarzan. That's always a plus. It comes swinging down on a rope like Tarzan. But it's like, okay, well, and that's the first thing you got to deal with, like right out of the gate in the morning, and I have to process all this stuff. So it was pretty intense. And then they start tearing your house to shreds, and your wife's like, what is going on? And kids are crying and freaked out. As you can imagine, these guys are in full SWAT gear. They look like they're from, a different planet to a little kid, a little 8-year-old or a 12-year-old. These guys look like spacemen with guns coming in your house, yelling and screaming. And that started just a huge chain of harassment and mayhem in our life. And just, they turned my life upside down. They try to break you. I don't know if you follow a lot of the stories with ex-FBI agents, but they treat criminals the same way they treat their own people. It's a very distinct playbook. They try to break you down and destroy you, take away your finances and your ability to fight back. And if they create enough mayhem in your life, it's harder to fight back. It's harder to organize and fight back because you're just so, you're like Humpty Dumpty. You're putting the pieces of your life back together, and you don't really have time to fight these guys. So it's a challenge. But what happened was, at the time, I got wind from congressmen, because we did a lot of opposition research for a lot of people, pretty well connected. Okay. That the government, the FBI, the CIA, State Department, were getting all these tips that Osama bin Laden was in Iran, and they weren't following up on anything. So I said, this probably is wrong information. It's probably wrong intel. We'll start snooping around on it just for the hell of it, because if it's true, number one, I want to know about it, because I work for these people, and who I work for and what I was doing. I at the time I believed in. I was kind of snowballed after that, that maybe these people aren't the best people to be working for. So that was kind of the precursor. After all my trouble started, after I started looking into that, and this went on for a number of years. Then when it's finally cleared up and I could get my breath, we fought these guys. I think I say we because you literally fight them as a family. It's not an individual thing. All your decisions are made by yourself and your spouse. How it affects your family, how it affects your kids. It's definitely not an individual battle. It's like you're in it together. Your whole entire life's under siege. Your bank accounts are frozen and everything. Like you're some kind of an arch criminal. So
can I stop you there for just a second?
Yeah.
One thing that I do know is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, ostensibly they entered your house under violence, armed, because of hockey videos?
Well, what they did was on the warrant. It was like I traded and sold old hockey videos. I'm talking like games that are 50 years old, 60 years old, a big collection. And we traded online with other people, and we would sell. People would buy them, and we'd say, "All right, well, send me $15 because cover the shipping, and I'll send you the game out." And that's what they did. They came in. They took a huge collection of hockey videos through the years. It took me like 20 years to build. They took all those games and tapes, like VHS tapes, and and then they look for anything they could find. Okay, so they're looking for drugs, they're looking for money, they're looking for paperwork, anything that would connect me to some type of a crime. So they took these hockey videos, and then it came back. My lawyers came to me and said, after like 2.5 years, he goes, "Look, this thing is dead. Congratulations, we fought these guys," because they wanted me to plead out to copyright infringement. I said, "Go fuck yourself. I'm not pleading out to anything. If you think you got a case, let's go to court. We'll destroy you in court," because I had done court prep and trial prep professionally, and I knew that this case was bullshit. So they told my lawyer everything was cool, and they weren't going to pursue it. And then literally like 2 months later, bang, here they come again in the morning. Just my son, myself and my younger son, who was 8 originally, but now he was 11. He's got special needs. He had anxiety and depression type thing. At the time, they came back with the guns. Same fucking thing, Came in the house. They tried to break the door down this time. And they dragged me out of the house. 3 guys on my back, bashed my face into my front steps and bloodied me. My kids in the house freaked out. My son. And then, they said, "You're under arrest." And it's a big circus, What they normally do is they call your lawyer and say, "Hey, look, we're going to, your client got indicted. You should be down at the courthouse in X amount of time."
Yeah, turn yourself in. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they do when you're represented by an attorney, but they bypass that just for another harassment play. And then freaked my son out again. My son was like completely blown away because, it's tough for a kid to process that, but when a kid has processing issues on top of it, and see, they knew that he had these issues because when you negotiate with the federal government over the 3 years to get them to go away, tell them they go fuck themselves, they know this. So that's why they did it. It's like a screw you, you wouldn't plead out and play our game because you're not really afraid, because I wasn't really afraid of these guys because I know the fear game, and I had worked for them long enough to know that these guys are brokers in fear. That's all they have. If you're afraid, you're fucked. You'll plead out quick. You'll do a couple years in jail, in prison. But if you hold off and you're cool as a cucumber and you don't give them any ground, they start to stammer. They don't know what to do. So that was their fuck you to me. For not playing, for not bending over, they came back and did that again the second time. And that's kind of when I decided, you know what, when this all blows over, I'm going to keep cool. I'm not going to do anything stupid, because if they want you to do something stupid, so maybe they can shoot you or something. Or
yes.
They definitely, it's like a goading thing. They came back, they thought maybe, we'll push this guy over the edge, because don't forget, when I'm dealing with these guys, I'm telling them to their face, "Go fuck yourself." So they know that I'm not going to put up with any shit. And so they come back, and they're probably thinking, in my mind, probably thinking, let's see if he does something stupid. Let's see if he's a real tough guy. If he does something stupid, maybe we can shoot him or get him on another charge of attacking an agent or something like that. So I'm trying to keep it real cool and do the right thing. But in the back of my mind, I figure I can always get these guys after all the smoke blows over by going back into journalism.
Okay,
doing our thing, doing my thing, because they're not prepared for the type of intelligence that I can turn around.
Can we hold there just for a second? Folks, we're talking to Mike Moore, of TruePundit.com, used to go by the AKA of Thomas Paine. He has a new book out, Paine, How We Dismantled the FBI in Our Pajamas. We're going to be right back. When I come back, I'm going to ask Mike Moore, okay, ostensibly the raid was because of these heinous hockey videos, but I'm going to ask him, okay, why did they really do that? What was the issue? What was the real purpose? Folks, you're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show right here, live and direct in the SHR Media Network. Don't go anywhere.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
This is Sackhead Sean.
And this is Sackhead's Clint.
And Sackhead's BZ.
Join us for a very important SHR Media special report, Election Night, November 6th, as we cover midterm returns live from the SHR Media Studios.
Not only will we have the best live election coverage, we'll have our very own SHR reporters on scene around the nation to keep you immediately updated.
We'll start at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, and go until, well, it's over. We may have some choice comments to make along the way.
For the best midterm election night coverage, go to shrmedia.com and watch the show on Facebook, YouTube, and on Periscope. shrmedia.com, be there.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic, concealed carry, and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are in fact listening to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Live and direct right here in the SHR Media Network. We have been talking for the first half hour, and we will continue for the full hour, speaking to Mike Moore, who has a new book out, Paine: How We Dismantled the FBI in Our Pajamas. On a scale of 1 to 10, for great book titles, that has to be a 10.2. And Poland has historically been a very difficult grader in terms of book names. Even Poland went above and beyond with a 10.1. Mike Moore, great to see you here, a.k.a. Thomas Paine, creator, essentially, of TruePundit.com. One thing that you didn't mention, or perhaps you haven't gotten there yet, is the terrible toll that this took on your family, these raids from the FBI. You lost your job. Everything was turned upside down. Your accounts were frozen. You were left essentially penniless. What life you did enjoy was almost completely destroyed by the FBI. As I said, ostensibly because you made some terribly heinous, and I'm sure they were great quality, VHS hockey videos. And that's worth kicking in someone's door in the middle of the night, I'm sure, as everyone here would roundly agree. Except let's go back, and I'd love to have you tell me what's the deal, what was the real reason. Clearly this is a message, and they're doing it because they can. So what was actually occurring with the FBI?
Well, we traced it back. We think that it had to do with snooping around about bin Laden in Iran and about America's intelligence apparatus's refusal to act on credible tips from congressmen, from a governor at the time, the U.S. Democrat governor, Bill Richardson, informants, ex-federal agents who were receiving credible intelligence that bin Laden was in Iran at the time, that the entire U.S. military was looking for him in dingy caves in Afghanistan. So when that came across my desk and my radar, I pursued it. And the book that we wrote shows that anybody else who was in the same camp as me, where they pursued it, their life was turned upside down. Bill Richardson's life was turned upside down. He was faced a federal probe and ruined his political career. Congressman Kurt Weldon asked questions about it and wouldn't let it go. Mueller's FBI raided his house 2 weeks before his re-election, raided his daughter's house, raided his business associate's house, offices in Philadelphia 2 weeks before the election, and ruined his career. He had been in Congress for 20 years, and he was going for his 11th term. And it goes on and on and on. I mean, the book spells it out that obviously there was something going on here. The government went out of its way to make sure that anybody who mentioned bin Laden in Iran was ruined. But more importantly, they never even freaking looked for the guy, based on dozens, I'd say, I'm going to say hundreds of tips, placing him at different cities and villages in Iran. They never lifted a finger. This was during the Bush and later during Obama administrations to go look for this guy. So what we did was, I said, after we started True Pundit in 2016, right before the election, right away we started tearing down the FBI brick by brick. sometimes big bricks, a couple bricks at a time, sometimes half a brick, and just illustrating what a corrupt organization it was from the head down. After we felt that was under control, I started working on the book. And what I mean by under control is people had been fired, they quit, they were ratting on each other. So we had the FBI pretty much right where we wanted them. We've broken a lot of stories about the FBI corruption.
Mike Moore.
So we started working on the book.
The chat room is exploding right now. They're saying Richardson, the Democrat from New Mexico, and I think that's who you're talking about, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
When they're saying, okay, Bush, what year? When did you get that intel?
2007.
It's the chat room has so many questions. It's not funny. So you came out. Well, let's cut to another chase. You came out with an article in True Pundit that I read that indicates that from the information that you have, Osama bin Laden had, in fact, essentially had his hiding place in Iran covered by certain elements in the U.S. government. And my first question is, okay, under President G.W. Bush, why? What's the point of that?
Don't know the answer to that fully, because the people that we need to ask those questions to aren't talking to me or anybody else. So the why is a whole other ballgame that we touched on a little bit inside the book. I mean, there are a lot of conjecture you can make about the Patriot Act, spreading the Patriot Act, letting it spread its wings in the country. You're letting the NSA, giving the NSA and the intelligence apparatus the ability to monitor your communications without a warrant. That happened right after 9/11. That was passed. So the NSA didn't even need permission to monitor your phone calls. The FBI didn't need a warrant signed to monitor your telecommunications. And I mean, that could be one of the reasons they wanted to spread this around. I mean, there's also arms. You're talking about a lot of arms dealing at the time, obviously, with the United States. So, but the way I answer that question is that until the major players are put into some type of a forum where they're questioned about that, I can't answer for them. We just explain the story of people's own struggle of trying to get this message to the government. We have a lot of somebody worked for the FBI, talked about the whole setup of the Clinton FBI, of how the FBI walked away from pretty much owning Al-Qaeda's emails and money laundering operations. The FBI had infiltrated Al-Qaeda over a 3-year undercover op, and they could have had anything they wanted, and at the last minute they pulled out and they said they weren't really interested in bin Laden. We have the task force leader in the book goes public. We have in the following chapter a guy who worked for NSA, worked for Army Intel, put a group together to go look for this guy in Iran. He was threatened by the State Department and other people, along with a congressman, that they would face, his whole group would face arrest if they went into Iran looking for bin Laden. And then what happened was he said, okay, well, here's the information. And don't forget, there was a $25 million head on this,
yes,
value on this guy's head. So
yeah,
these guys were looking for, this isn't like just, okay, these are good citizens, but they're looking for the reward. So this guy wanted to go over and put his head in a bag and bring it back. These guys are pretty hardcore operators. And what happened was a series of different meetings with high-ranking people in the government, and they were told to stand down. So his point, his group's point was, they had a lot of ex-military guys said, okay, well, here's the intelligence. He's in this building, in this city, in Tehran, on this street, in this building, go get him. And when you get him, give us the money. Well, no, these things never materialize. There's always some type of an excuse. Our intelligence is that he's in Afghanistan, and then suddenly that changes. He's in Pakistan now. And they're like, wait a minute, we thought he was in Afghanistan. Now you're saying he's in Pakistan? And it's just one thing after another, including the congressman's life who fell apart for asking the same type of questions to George Tenet, CIA director in 2003. So this started as early as 2003 when informants were coming in and saying, hey, this guy is in Iran. What are you guys doing? And these are paid informants all over the world who are paid well for their information by the U.S. government. So my contention in the book is they never even looked for this guy. They were getting all this information. And to us, they're selling some kind of story that, oh, yeah, we're looking for this guy in a damp cave. He's in a damp cave. He's in failing health. It just doesn't sell. It doesn't sell with all these insiders saying, no, that's not true. Now, what happened with Bill Richardson is he approached Leon Panetta. First, he approached the administration in 2008 after Obama got in. He was supposed to be Obama's commerce secretary. And he had heard from sources the same thing. He approached Leon Panetta, who was at the time director of CIA, and said, hey, this guy, we've come across information, this guy is in Iran. Now, Richardson was like a consummate diplomat and responsible for some pretty tight negotiations of hostage retrieval and things like that. So Richardson's angle was, let's put together some kind of a diplomatic envoy. It could be groundbreaking, and we get this guy back from Iran, and bring him to justice. It would be a big feather in the Obama administration's cap. So he was basically told to stand down. He kept at it, though. The guy was kind of a crazy man. He kept, to his credit, right?
Yeah.
It's like the funny thing about this is not really a partisan story. It's like it's good. It's just good versus evil. And I think Richardson comes off as one of the good guys. And regardless of your politics, I think he comes off in this as a good guy. And then the next thing you know, he's got all these fake scandals. The FBI is investigating his administration and for some kind of pay-to-play scandal. And then he got hit with another FBI investigation while all this stuff is going on. And he's behind the scenes saying, hey, what are you guys going to do about if you don't want to send me over there? That's fine. What are you going to do about this? Are you doing something about this? Are you doing something about this? He's like Maury from Goodfellas. He's like pestering the hell out of these guys. And Panetta was in the CIA, and Clinton is running the State Department at the time. Finally, they tell him, look, why don't you just shuffle your butt over to North Korea and try to get these they were doing a similar hostage negotiation over there with North Korea. So he did that for 1 or 2 weeks. I think that was in 2010. I'm just going from my memory that's in the book. And all the while, he's still like, hey, okay, cool, we'll do that. And then what are we going to do, bin Laden? And, this is a guy who, at the time then, was removed from, at one time he was going to be secretary. They were thinking about he would replace Clinton as Secretary of State. That was removed. He was, because of the FBI investigations at the time, that all this was going on, he had to withdraw he was asked to withdraw his nomination for Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Labor, I forget which one it was. And, this is a guy who was Mr. DNC, Mr. Democrat, Mr. Diplomat, and former United Nations ambassador, he was governor at the time, but he also served in the cabinet of Bill Clinton's presidency. So this guy's like a heavyweight. And he couldn't even get anything done. So that's just like another example. And we go into that in detail. And I probably have done a real shitty job of encapsulating the whole thing. But it's like when the story is so much bigger than you are, and you're trying to get it down on paper, it's a massive story. It's so I hope that I explained the Richardson thing a little bit better. But that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
I can only hope, although I have no confidence in this, that we got something out of Osama bin Laden being in Iran. My first thought that came to my brain housing group was, okay, for whatever reason, he's still valuable, and someone is providing medical aid to him. I think he had kidney problems, something like that, so I was wondering if perhaps he was going through dialysis. But then we cut to the portion where for whatever damn reason, apparently he loses his usefulness. His butt is kicked out of Iran. He finds himself in Pakistan on the second floor of some piece of crap house. And I cannot help but think that this is a setup. His usefulness is done. It's time to take him out.
Well, that's what a lot of guys said. It was a trophy kill. They shuffled him to. What happened is very strange. The U.S. has this program called Rewards for Justice. And it's kind of like, hey, you give us it's kind of like America's Most Wanted TV show, the old TV show. You call in a tip on this guy. He's the most wanted, and if you get the tip, you get paid. The U.S. still has the program. It's like rewardsforjustice.net. It's run by the State Department. So the Secretary of State runs this, Secretary of State's office. And they were getting good intel, and it was starting to heat up by 2010, summer of 2010, on where this guy was in Iran. And it got to the point where there was a couple people hitting these guys so hard, FedExing them letters and getting lawyers to FedEx them letters, and that they said, wait a minute, how do these guys know where this guy is? Like, this is pretty good stuff. So Panetta and Clinton said, with their posses in the State Department and CIA, said, yeah, these guys could be a problem. Let's set up surveillance on these guys. Let's get some taps on their communications. Let's watch their phones and see how they know this. How would they know this if he's in Iran? So these people who were looking for a reward and had really actionable intelligence, they became the targets of illegal surveillance. And they had basically put in a position where their movements, their emails, their web traffic and things were being monitored, like a counterintelligence operation. So this State Department run by Hillary, she wasn't interested in finding bin Laden. They set up against these American citizens, and some of them were ex-federal operators. They set up on these guys like they were the criminals. They wanted to see what their next move was so that they could, maybe move bin Laden. And that's what happened. According to a lot of people, he was moved in the fall of 2010, and a couple months later he was killed.
Yeah, he was killed on May 2nd, 2011.
Right. It's like I've said this to people. It's a massive story, and you couldn't make it up if you wanted to. But it's so far over my head and our heads. We're just trying to get it out there, and maybe a guy like Trump, maybe he does something with it. I mean, if he wants to do something with it, this is like a candy store. Because, first of all, the people in our book are on the record. A lot of guys are on the record. These guys don't go on the record, okay? It's almost unheard of. But they have this on their conscience. They want to get it off their conscience because it's a problem. They realize it's a problem that they did this work for the government, and they were kicked in the head at the end of the day. They were threatened with jail. They were threatened with federal investigations. Kurt Weldon, the congressman's life was turned upside down. His son ended up committing suicide because of this whole thing. This is like, this is heavy shit, and the people are on the record. Their stories are disgrace. My story is one thing, but no one in my family, thank God, ended up taking their own life. Kurt's own son, because of this whole thing, got hooked on opioids and went down the tubes. And this is a guy who was a congressman for 20 years, and he was slated to run the Arms Committee and all this. Very, very powerful. He's going to be probably one of the most powerful guys in the House, and he was already promising to run investigations on what was going on. So they took him out just in a matter of days. With this illegal raid that it's multifaceted. 75 FBI agents raiding his house, his daughter's house, and associate's law office. And here's the thing. The FBI never questioned any of them after that day. They never questioned them. They gave them all their stuff back, and there was never any charges. There wasn't even any questioning. None of them were brought in, threatened with indictment or anything. It was all a ruse. Mueller had run this ruse to get him removed from Congress because he was going to kick everybody's ass. I've talked to him, and he told me as much. He said, I was going to do a number on all these guys. He'd been on the Hill for 3 years saying, what the fuck has bin Laden doing in Iran? And how come the CIA is not doing anything about it? Why isn't the FBI doing anything about it? Don't forget, it's a very unique case because Mueller had Bob Levinson in Iran as a prisoner. Levinson was a former FBI agent. He's still presumed to be in Iran as a prisoner. He was taken prisoner in Iran when he was working as a contractor for the government. So they were getting intel from their own agents, okay, that bin Laden was in Iran as well as Bob Levinson. And they still weren't doing anything to bring Levinson home. And they were still ignoring the fact that bin Laden was in Iran. This is Mueller, who's investigating the president of the United States right now. So it's like some heavy shit. And you got FBI agents saying this. This isn't like the story gets crazier. The deeper you get, the crazier it gets.
It's absolutely astounding. Folks, we're talking to Mike Moore. Already, I want to tell you, the chat room has been insane and upside down. People have already said they've gone out and gotten your book. For those who are just tuning in, I'm talking to Mike Moore, formerly known as Thomas Paine, at truepundit.com. His book is Paine, How We Dismantled the FBI in Our Pajamas. And they asked me to say that again. The book is called Paine, P-A-I-N-E, How We Dismantled the FBI in Our Pajamas. And it's by Mike Moore, M-O-O-R-E. I wish that I had read the book because I have so many questions. The chat room has so many questions. I did order the book, just waiting for it to show up. It's so complicated and interwoven, and the names that you've mentioned it's a who's who of everyone we've heard before. Now, there was a great we got about 3 more minutes before the top of the hour break, and my understanding is
real quick, just let me slide in.
Sure.
Real quick. Don't forget about the unexplained $150 million paid to $150 billion paid to Iran under the auspices of a nuclear deal. That was just simply hush money, and that was another $1.8 billion in cash that was delivered in pallets.
In pallets.
At the same time, Iran was saying, "Hey, guess what, fuckers? We're going to tell everybody in the world about the corrupt politicians in America." And all of a sudden, this nuclear deal comes together, $151.8 billion with pallets of cash flying around. And they're saying, "Oh yeah, that's just typical." And most Americans are like, what the hell is that money for? Well, now when you put all that together and you look at this landscape, it starts to make a whole lot of sense.
Well, yeah, that's right out of a Tom Clancy novel. I know what. Let's put $1.8 billion on a bunch of pallets, load them into the back of a C-17, and fly them to Iran. Now,
that'll shut them up.
There's an idea. Yeah. I want to make this point before you go. I would only assume that what you're doing now is payback for the FBI having screwed essentially mercilessly with me. But in my opinion, bodies have hit the floor, and I want to mention some of the people that have hit the floor, and I think it's probably at your behest. The entire director of the FBI, James Comey, the assistant director of the FBI, Andrew McCabe, Mike Curtin, the FBI assistant director of public affairs, David, I think it was Linneman, DOJ chief of counterintelligence, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, James Rybicki, James Baker. These are all bodies that have hit the floor that I'm assuming were instigated and ably assisted by yourself.
Well, I mean, we've played a role in it. We're not the be all and end all. We try not to play the ego game. We like to think that. Well, I mean, we have broken dozens of stories, and I'm being kind. There's probably well over 100 serious FBI stories that we broke. People thought we were nuts at the time and said, oh, it's fake news, blah, 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 blah. We just go about our business, and 6 months, a year after we write it, somebody else picks it up and says, holy shit, these guys had this a year ago. I mean, this doesn't make any sense. How did they know about this a year ago? Well, I mean, we're plugged in. We spent 20 years in the life, in the intel world. We know exactly who to call, what to ask. But not only that, you can also telegraph what's going on just by following the news. Once you become a player in this world and you understand the game, and it is a game for sure, once you understand the game, you know exactly the cards that are being played, whereas the media has no freaking clue. Traditional media, whether on the left or on the right, has no clue on what's really going on behind the scenes. So I think we've played a role in it. I wouldn't take total credit for it because, but I think we definitely have played a role in it. Is it payback? Fucking A, right? It's payback. That's the way it is.
Yes.
I don't try to be. I'm not
perfect.
I'm not some bullshitter about, oh, I'm partisan. I'm not fucking partisan. This is a revenge operation. That's the way it is. You know, the key here was to do it legally. We had to do it legally, and we had to do it without breaking any laws or getting violent. It's a brain on brain operation, and let's see who makes it out of the pit. So that's what this is all about. This is going back to the 1700s. So let's get it on.
Okay, let me throw this out there, and you tell me if this is possible. Number one, I'd like to get my copy of your book from Mike Moore, Paine, How We Dismantled the FBI in Our Pajamas. Paine, How We Dismantled the FBI in Our Pajamas. I want to get the book. I want to read the book. I want to process the book and try to do all the myriad of linkages that are clearly in the book. And then once having done that, processed it, read it, having a greater understanding, Mike Moore, I would love to have you back. Would you be amenable to that?
Yeah, let's do it. Great. I'm up for talking to anybody about it. And see, the thing about the book is we're putting some puzzle pieces out there. Maybe they fit differently with other intel and other knowledge people have. Maybe they dovetail better than what we have. So, you know, it's kind of like we're at the ground entry level here of this story, and we want it to blow up, and we want people to share it so that it gets some notoriety. And it's only going to take off if people read it, get the book, read it, talk about it, and maybe some other news organizations start picking it up and saying, "Hey, this stuff looks pretty crazy. Let's look into it."
Okay, great. You're on. I will consider it. I would love to have you back. I'm going to get it. I'm going to read it again, folks. Mike Moore, Moore. His book, you can get it Kindle or paperback. You can probably order it at Barnes & Noble. I've seen it advertised on Amazon. Paine, How We Dismantled the FBI in Our Pajamas. I suspect people talk about the tip of the iceberg. We haven't even touched the tip. We haven't even watched a chip fall off of the iceberg.
No, you're right.
Everything in this dovetails, folks. It all dovetails. And Mike Moore has led you down the path of illumination so that you can see that it does, in my opinion, all dovetail together. So, Mike Moore, thank you ever so kindly for being here tonight.
Man. I appreciate it.
It was an honor and a pleasure. I can guarantee you sold some books. And oh my God, after reading the book, would I love to have you back.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Brennan. That's a whole nother.
Yeah.
He's in the book. We have his communications from inside the White House, top secret cables to Saudi Arabia. That's a whole nother nightmare.
Okay.
You know, but yeah, I'm up for it, man. I appreciate the time.
Okay. And again, thanks, sir, for staying up again so late. You're in Philadelphia. You're on the East Coast. It's friggin' 4 minutes after midnight right now. So thank you ever kindly, sir. Mike Moore, you got to go out and get his book, Paine, How We Dismantled the FBI in Our Pajamas. Thank you, sir. God bless. Take care and good night,
man.
sir.
Have a good one, man. Take care, bro.
Thanks. Holy crap.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
This is Sackhead Sean.
And this is Sackhead's Clint.
And Sackhead's BZ.
Join us for a very important SHR Media special report, Election Night, November 6th, as we cover midterm returns live from the SHR Media studios.
Not only will we have the best live election coverage, we'll have our very own SHR reporters on scene around the nation to keep you immediately updated.
We'll start at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, and go until, well, it's over. We may have some choice comments to make along the way.
For the best midterm election night coverage, go to shrmedia.com and watch the show on Facebook, YouTube, and on Periscope. shrmedia.com. Be there.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
You're listening to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network, where I am ensconced within the sumptuous and palatial, just look around, SHR Media Studios. Holy crap. I don't customarily say that after speaking to a guest, but I have to tell you, my first thought after the first 5 minutes was, holy crap. Does this guy have a story? This is one of those situations now, if I talk to an author, and I've talked to about 5 or 6 authors now, and of course, Mike Moore is now an author, I always have the opportunity to read the book, digest it, understand what it's about, and then I can have a good logical discussion with the author about its contents. Not having read the book, because the book just got published yesterday, and that's why I was very lucky, because his book just got published, and I got a full 1-hour interview with Mike Moore. And again, thank you very kindly, sir, for that. Greatly appreciated. But having not read the book, I can't wait to get the book so that I can understand more of what was said, so that I can get him back on the show and ask him more logical, cogent questions that are a lot more pointed than the sort of generic questions that I just had at this point. And by the way, thanks to Mike John Pasqua in chat. Thanks for the Alaskan being in chat. Simone, Whiskey Dale, Dave Milner, Mary Brockman, who was in chat. I saw some other people at one point. We had 7 viewers. Thanks to everybody that's in chat and was listening. I put the name of the book in chat also, Paine, How We Dismantled the FBI in Our Pajamas. It comes in Kindle and paperback. I don't remember the price offhand. If anybody, well, actually, it doesn't even matter. A whole bunch of people in chat already said they bought it. I remember Whiskey Dale said, hey, he went out and bought that thing. So, and Dave Milner. God, did I mention Dave? Yeah, there we go. Dave in chat. What an incredible individual. And, it's like, I don't know if you remember. Do you guys remember the 1999 film with Mel Gibson called Payback? And he dropped bodies all over the landscape because he didn't want the $1 million that was involved. He just wanted the small cut of the $1 million that was due him. And he dropped people all the way up to the top for $70,000. And people kept asking him, "Oh, you don't want more money?" And he said, "No, I just want what's mine." And he kept dropping bodies all over the place. That's Payback. James Comey, Andrew McCabe, et al. That's Payback. Yeah, Whiskey Dale says it's $9.99 for Kindle. Great. Outstanding. If you haven't, you need to go out quick like a bunny and get this book. All along. Now, we have one more week. Count them. One more week. This time, next week, it is 9:13 here on the left coast, and it's midnight 13 on the east coast. It's 1782 and 725.3, subparagraph 4, subsector 20 in Bolivian time. I never got Bolivian time. I just don't get it. And I've still got a ton of stuff for you, but my point is, November 6th, 1 week from now, we'll be sitting here, Sackheads Clint, Sackheads BZ, myself, Sackhead Sean. We're going to be talking to Jeff Dunitz. We're going to be talking to Melanie Collette. I believe we're going to be talking to Carrie Baxter Donovan and some other people who are going to be reporting on election night. If you have an absentee and you haven't mailed it out, check it, mail it out. Do what I did, or do what I'm going to do. I'm going to hand it to an individual so that I know specifically to whom I did handle it. Oh, there's Carrie Baxter Donovan in chat. Good to see you. So vote, vote, vote. I'm torn. In some instances, I quote, and I have continued to quote some polls, but the polls that I quote to you are polls that you haven't heard about. One of the most recent things that I heard about is people, especially on the left, because I do watch MSNBC and CNN. I do it so you don't have to. And I'm listening to these people saying that the House is ours. It's blue. We've got it, and you're never getting it back. And by the way, because we're punitive and we believe in payback as well, we're going to make you suffer. Every one of you conservative bastards who voted or didn't vote for us, we're going to make you pay. We're going to make you hurt. And if it entails turning the United States of America upside down to do it, oh, hell yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to make you hurt, and we're going to make you pay. And for that, this is going to be the Democrat
Party, and I'm here
ad.
to tell you why you need to vote blue this November. Democrats are the party of love and tolerance. We promote inclusion and acceptance, peace, and goodwill. Republicans don't care about any of these things. They just want to talk about record unemployment, the economy, and keeping communities safe. Fascists. Democrats have positive, practical priorities, like abolishing the Electoral College, eliminating due process, and banning hate speech. These are the values of the American people. Well, at least Americans that live in San Francisco and New York. Republicans often use fear-mongering rhetoric like Constitution or liberty. Democrats condemn such language as divisive and instead focus on more unifying topics like repealing the Second Amendment or kneeling for the national anthem.
Yeah.
Democrats are the party of equality, so much so that we insist upon unconditionally believing women and disbelieving men because, well, feminism.
Right.
If you ask us to explain this logically, we will scream in your face and call you a misogynist. Republicans want to take away a woman's sacred right to choose to have her child decapitated inside the womb and torn apart limb by limb with forceps. Democrats celebrate the right to violently murder your child because we're...
Stop right there. Stop right there just for a second. It's probably past where you are, but when it comes out, and it will come out again, and it will probably come to, I don't know if it's going to come to Netflix, but somewhere a cable series is going to carry this. If you haven't seen it, you need to go out and see Gosnell, Gosnell. When you come to understand what this piece of shit did, I'll just leave it at that. That's the least that I can call this subhuman. If you weren't in favor of choice, if you're a human being at all, and you see this movie, you will be pro-choice.
Compassionate. Democrats believe that women are powerful and independent. They are also helpless victims of the patriarchy who require government intervention to succeed. Any woman who disagrees with us on this is a self-hating, stupid bimbo. And it's time someone was finally brave enough to say this. Republicans are racist. Democrats have the same positive message for minorities that we have for women. You're a victim, and you're useful to us. If you disagree, we'll insult your intelligence, but it's for your own good. Republicans want to stop certain people from coming into this country. They cite the infiltration of gang violence or opioids or sex trafficking as reasons to stop illegal immigration. But Democrats accept these as the natural consequences of opening up the borders, which, of course, is the more loving thing to do. Democrats recognize that the key to a better tomorrow is to look forward, not backward. That's why we reject capitalism and all of its greed and instead opt for socialism, which has worked so well every time it's been tried. Democrats are the party of the common people, the poor and the marginalized, the weak and defenseless. While Republicans promise freedom, we promise free stuff. That's how we win over young people. Our goal is to make the government work for you so you don't have to work at all. Republicans are always pushing religion in our faces. We reject their bigotry. Religious people are idiots. Democrats would much rather you sacrifice yourself on the altar of progressivism. The truth is, as the party of empathy, we're just better than everyone else. That's why we spend so much time telling people who don't align with our agenda that they're not just wrong, but that they're bad people.
Right.
We still haven't figured out that this condescension is what lost us the 2016 election. Nevertheless, we're confident that through censorship, emotional manipulation, and continued bullying that we'll eventually get our way. Why? Because we care about you. So much so that we're willing to wear you down until you fear getting silenced, doxxed, or fired because you don't agree with our agenda. That's love. I'm the spokesperson for the Democratic Party. Vote for us in November.
Perfect. What I was leading to is this. I heard on it was either CNN or MSNBC, that the House at this point is roughly sitting at 199 to 203. And this is from a left-leaning organ. To me, that speaks volumes right there, absolute volumes. By the way, again, thanks to everybody in chat. Thanks for listening in the first hour. I forgot to mention truckers. I keep getting emails from truckers saying, hey, we really dig your show. Truckers, dudes, keep listening. Dudettes, keep listening. You move America. You continue to make America great. I still got a ton of articles. I've got a ton of stories for you. You want happy stories, ladies and gentlemen? I got happy stories lined up. But here's a story from Kurt Schlichter, which is particularly applicable now. And the headline is this. The name of the story is Democrats blaming normal Americans for nuts will blow up in their faces at the ballot box. And I think you know exactly what this is about. This came out yesterday from townhall.com by Kurt Schlichter. You know, there's nothing that normal Americans can identify with more than a guy living in a Ford panel van covered with Trump memes and soccer manifestos who sends bombs that don't work to Democrats who support policies that don't work. Likewise, normal people totally identify with, let me get the liberal narrative du jour right here, a Trump-hating freak who shoots up a synagogue. And I think it's a terrific midterm strategy for our Democrat friends to keep making that idiotic case, extreme sarcasm for the benefit of the willfully obtuse. The official media is in a frenzy explaining how Donald Trump personally instructed kooky weirdo DeFlorida to mail pipe bombs to washed-up Dem hacks and nameless garbage being in Pittsburgh via a series of cunningly encrypted dog whistles. Make America Great Again is apparently code for mail bombs. Nothing says murder Jews like moving the embassy to Jerusalem and ending the Iran deal. Oddly, of 63 million Trump voters, only one jerk managed to decode this cipher. The other hated Trump for liking Jews too much. But as CNN, MSNBC's brain trust and such thinkers as rock legend Joe Scarborough teaches, their crimes are on all of us anyway for some reason. We're all to blame for one kook's real terrorism because, well, he thought Trump was part of the giant Zionist conspiracy to make him a friendless loser, so it's not clear why. Maybe it's being a useful lie is reason enough. We're also to blame for the other Indians' pantomime terrorism pursuant to the dippy moral calculus proposed by the same peeps who spent 8 years slobbering over the protege of Bill freaking Ayers, okay? Ayers, as you would never know from watching our media, was a leader in an actual campaign of political bombings that I remember, aside from BZ, that actually maimed and killed actual people. So when libs feign shock at those raising the possibility that leftists might be responsible for doing something leftists have had a history of doing, as well as a history of faking hate crimes when they were victims, at a politically convenient time, the faux outrage rang hollow. And how faux the outrage was, and so very selective, too. Leftists demand you ignore the near-miss massacres at the Family Research Council and the baseball field by committed leftists who were not any crazier than their political allies, only more proactive. The message is that you normal Americans are complicit. You are complicit for voting for a guy who doesn't hate your guts. I think that on November 6th, the Democrats are going to get a message back from the people they are shamelessly lying about. Normal voters are not going to look at this blood libel and say, yeah, I feel personally responsible for the actions of that Elizabeth Warren channeling fake Indian stripper guy with a kilometer-long rap sheet who totally would not have done anything nutty if it weren't for Trump, and also for the crimes of a scuzzy coward who hates Trump. I guess I have a moral obligation to vote for people who will ruin this surging economy, restore America to its rightful place as a laughingstock in the world stage, and attack my rights of free speech, free exercise of religion, and to keep and bear arms to protect myself from exactly these kind of aspiring Stalins. Because that idea makes sense, I'm convinced. I think normal people are going to be furious at these lies. I think they see how liberals and their water-carrying Fredo-Con lickspittles are making a desperate play to stop the Republicans' momentum going into the election. And it's not like the liberals have had a really good sense of what issues to glom onto lately. They thought crucifying Brett Kavanaugh with false claims was going to stir up that proverbial blue wave. The electorate turned towards the Republicans. They thought that a caravan of greedy foreigners coming north to cash in on our welfare state, well, that was going to do it. The electorate turned toward Republicans even harder. Gee, what to do? It's not like they can run on their crappy policies. Oh, here's a great idea. Let's tell Republican voters that they're personally responsible for the actions of some fruitcake Nimrod who looks like he's on a day pass from the mid-1990s WWE, and another loser who sounds like a Goebbels fever dream. Good plan, if you've never met a normal person. But liberals haven't because they hate normal people. As I recount in my new book, Militant Normals, How Regular Americans Are Rebelling Against the Elite to Reclaim Our Democracy, the problem for our elite is that it's lost the ability to hide the fact that it detests the very people it presumes to rule. And until we can get rid of this whole democracy thingy, those people are going to have a say in who rules them. And I expect they will say no to people who hate them. The fact is, this latest okey doke is not going to work. It's transparent baloney, and the normal people see it. They see it. One of the big challenges the liberal elites face is the fact that it refuses to concede that their opponents, i.e., people like you, are not utter idiots who don't know they're being grifted. They have to think we are stupid because they have no achievements of their own, and they're assuming we're dumber than they are. That's the only way they can feel superior to us. As a result, they adopt ridiculous strategies because they can't accept that we're smart enough not to be fooled. How about 35-year-old charges against a guy where the accuser can't even say where it happened, and on top of that, let's accuse him of liking beer. Oh yeah, that'll work. That'll work. I know, wait. We can pull on the heartstrings by showing a bunch of Honduran flag-waving foreigners demanding free stuff as they march up towards America, and we can show how mean old Donald Trump won't let them in, but we should. And we would. That'll convince normal Americans to vote for us. Okay, well, those didn't work. How about this? How about we accuse normal Americans of being complicit in history's least effective bombing campaign run by a dude who looks like he's escaped from Ringling Brothers? Oh, not enough? How about we also blame Trump voters for what a guy who hated Trump for not hating Jews enough did in a synagogue? Yeah, that'll totally not ensure every potential GOP voter will be heading to the polls to check the box behind and next to the candidates with the R's. You know what Kurt Schlichter says? You guys go with that. Please. And now you understand why I loves me some Kurt Schlichter articles. Speaking of articles, one of the things that I was going to talk to Mike Moore about was the ridiculous assertion that James Comey made in his decision not to indict Hillary Rodham Clinton. And though I didn't have the opportunity to bring that up, it did make me think about this. And folks, oh, damn it, Jim. It's the bottom of the hour, so I'm going to have to take a break. Well, that's okay, because now you got something to look forward to. I'm going to play something that I haven't played for a while, but I swear to God, every time I hear this, it just makes me smile.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
This is Sackhead Sean.
And this is Sackhead's Clint.
And Sackhead's BZ.
Join us for a very important SHR Media special report, Election Night, November 6th, as we cover midterm returns live from the SHR Media Studios.
Not only will we have the best live election coverage, we'll have our very own SHR reporters on scene around the nation to keep you immediately updated.
We'll start at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, and go until, well, it's over. We may have some choice comments to make along the way.
For the best midterm election night coverage, go to shrmedia.com and watch the show on Facebook, YouTube, and on Periscope. shrmedia.com. Be there.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Wow, this is at the final 25. This has been one fast show. Like zippy, quick, like a bunny. When I play this next, I submit that you'll kind of be like that one Foghat album where the title was Girls to Chat and Boys to Bounce, because I can't help but enjoy the hell out of this.
Good morning. I'm here to give you an update on the FBI's investigation of Secretary Clinton. What I want to do is tell you what we're recommending, but first, let me tell you what we found. 110 emails, 52 email chains have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it make?
8 of those chains were top secret, 36 of those chains secret, and 8 contained confidential information.
What difference at this point does it make?
Everything I did was permitted. There was no law, no regulation.
Secretary Clinton should have known that an unclassified system was no place for that conversation.
I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email.
None of these emails should have been on any kind of classified system, not even Gmail.
Well, first of all, nothing was marked classified.
To the contrary.
Nothing was marked classified.
There is evidence.
Nothing was marked classified.
Now let me tell you what we found.
110 emails. It was not the best choice.
52 email chains.
It was a mistake.
Have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it make?
8 of those chains were top secret.
Was it the best choice?
6 of those chains
I said it was a mistake.
8 contained confidential information.
What difference at this point does it make?
With respect to our recommendation, this is going to be an unusual statement in at least a couple of ways. Although there is evidence, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. I know there will be intense public debate. I know there will be intense public debate. I know there will be intense public debate. What difference at this point does it make? 110 emails.
It wasn't the best choice.
52 email chains.
I made a mistake.
Have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it make?
8 of those chains were top secret.
Not a good choice.
36 of those chains
I said it was a mistake.
and 8 contained confidential information.
What difference at this point does it make?
Brilliant. I'm sorry. It's my show, and I got to have some fun every once in a while. I love the hell out of that one. But what did I tell you earlier? You know, if I had a producer, I don't. But I did tell you earlier that oh, wait a minute. No, hang on. You can't do this to me. There, now we're finished. All right. If I had a producer, my producer would already have had this queued up, right?
It's time for happy stories and good times.
Now, remember last week I spoke to Brandon Straka? This is from Conservative Fighters, and this is a happy story of photos. Walk away from Democrats rally draws thousands of patriots. We love America, and we love Trump. And from this story, there's a ton of photos, great photos. And this is Brandon Straka's Walk Away, hashtag Walk Away March on D.C. The gathering at Freedom Plaza in Washington, D.C. on Saturday was a stark contrast to recent rallies where people dressed in black and held signs disparaging President Donald Trump and members of his administration. The Walk Away rally featured a sea of red, white, and blue-clad participants waving flags, wearing Make America Great hats, and even pussy hats that remained infamous during the Women's March. Even those were transformed into bright red Trump-supporting headgear. And there's a photograph in here of that as well. The success of a weekend to events to support Trump and the Republicans ahead of the midterm elections on November 6th even impressed Brandon Straka, the former Democrat who launched the Walk Away movement 5 months ago, when he posted a video on his Facebook page urging others who were fed up with the failed policies and mob rule mentality of today's Democrat Party to leave it. It was basically, from all accounts that I can figure out, a great time. And it was, well, here's another story, for example. Dave Milner in there. Now it's Blexit. And you folks, you've heard of Brexit. That's Britain leaving the EU. And now apparently we have the hashtag Blexit. And what that means, thanks for reminding me, Dave, what that means is that blacks are leaving the Democrat Party. So it's its own new hashtag now, Blexit, B-L-E-X-I-T. Thanks for reminding me of that. Here's an article from the New York Post. Hashtag Walkaway movement urges liberals to abandon Democrats. And this is essentially what Brandon Straka has been saying for quite some time. Furious former Democrats fed up at the party's leftward lurch are banding together in protest under the banner of the Walkaway movement. The 5-month-old online effort pushes the idea of abandoning a party that members say has become allergic to dissent and hostile to moderate voices. Democrats seem so angry, like they've turned hard left into socialism, said Maureen Holland of Deer Park. It's very scary to me. And we've had a huge surge since the Kavanaugh hearing, said Brandon Straka, organizer of the campaign, who says its Facebook page has grown to almost 250,000 supporters. I find that's a great thing. Also, here's another article that says Trump sends congratulations to former Democrat for walk-away campaign. President Donald Trump tweeted congratulations to Brandon Straka, the former Democrat who launched the walkaway campaign to encourage leftists who are fed up with fake news and mob attacks to leave the party. And here's the tweet. It says, this is from Donald Trump. Walk away from the Democrat Party movement marches today in D.C. Congratulations to Brandon Straka for starting something very, very special. Completely agreed. And I think that's going to have, as I told Brandon Straka, I think that's going to have a very significant impact in 1 week. Actually, on the East Coast now, it's 6 days. 6 days until the midterms. As I mentioned earlier, there's going to be a bunch of us here in the SHR Media studio. We're going to be starting about 3 p.m. Pacific time, which is about 6 p.m. Eastern. Myself, Clint, and Sean will be doing what we did for the entire night in 2016 with the presidential election. I am, as I am wont to say, guardedly optimistic. Here's another happy story. And I say it's a happy story not because of the people that were necessarily impacted by this, but because this is what leftists wanted. Now leftists are getting it, and they're going to have to suck it up like a buttercup and get over it. This is from hotair.com, written by Jazz Shaw. Man identifying as woman wins Women's World Cycling Championship. Really? Having covered the topic of transgender athletes extensively here, this is a story I've been expecting to cross our path for quite a while now. At the 2018 UCI Masters Track Cycling World Championships in Los Angeles this weekend, the winner of the women's 35 to 39 age bracket was Canadian competitor Rachel McKinnon. McKinnon is a male who identifies as a female. Rachel McKinnon, a professor at the College of Charleston, won the women's 35 to 39 age bracket at the 2018 UCI Masters Track Cycling Championship. McKinnon, representing Canada, bested Caroline van Herikusen of the Netherlands, and American cycling professional Jennifer Wagner to take home the gold. McKinnon celebrated the victory on Twitter, writing, "First transgender woman world champion ever." Well, that's certainly something to be, what an accomplishment. As I said, this day has been coming for a while now. Last year we saw Jillian Bearden, formerly known as Jonathan, compete in the Colorado Classic cycling event. He didn't manage to win, so the story sort of dropped off the radar, but it was already clear that men were going to be taking advantage of their natural physical attributes in athletic competition in this fashion. And bicycling is one of the sports where they would have a serious leg up. Get it? Leg up. McKinnon was not only unapologetic for beating out several actual women for the gold medal, including American Jennifer Wagner, but has previously complained about transgender competitors having to scale back their testosterone to compete. Scale it back? That's not fair. In a January interview, McKinnon was quoted as saying, "Focusing on performance advantage is largely irrelevant because this is a rights issue." Okay. Let's see. If I had a producer, what you would have heard is this. Because this is a rights issue. But I don't have a producer, and that's not what you heard. Let me repeat this again, because this is fucking insane. Let's just get this out on the table. Focusing on performance advantage is largely irrelevant. Okay, this is a sport, remember, where performance and an advantage at performance is significant. Listen to this. Focusing on performance advantage is largely irrelevant because this is a rights issue. If this is a rights issue, why did this guy crow about winning? Shouldn't, if it's a rights issue, shouldn't he, she, it, whatever, fill in the blank, be happy just to be in the competition? Continued, he said, "We shouldn't be worried about trans people taking over the Olympics." Really? We should be worried about their fairness and human rights instead. Then this guy goes on to carp about catering to cisgender people's views. Stop. If you don't know what cisgender is just another made-up leftist name for normal people. People whose chromosomes are either XX or XY, because that's all there is, right? He went on to carp about catering to cisgender people, normal people's views, and attempted to compare the situation to desegregation in sports along racial lines. Listen, the two obviously don't have anything to do with each other, since race plays only a negligible role in athletic ability, if at all, among the best competitors in any given sport. McKinnon has an unfair advantage even with testosterone suppression, and he knows it. So, the reason I find this a happy story is that way too many, in my opinion, people who participate, younger folks who participate in sports, are leftists and don't mind you knowing that they're leftists. So when some of these people on the left get their asses handed to them by leftist policies, BZ breaks out in a big schadenfreude grin, whereas my wife says, "My job frequently is to sit on the bank of the river and watch the bodies of my dead enemies float by." And that's why I love that one. Here's another happy story. Good guy with a gun takes out armed attacker at Alabama McDonald's and saves lives. Of course, you probably didn't hear about this because this goes against guns, right? Bad guy, good guy with a gun, that kind of thing. Oh, you can't believe that. What a load of crap. A man eating at an Alabama McDonald's with his children pulled out his legally carried pistol to take out an armed robber. The incident occurred just before 11 p.m. at Birmingham, Alabama McDonald's, when a restaurant manager had unlocked the door to let her father and his 2 teenage sons out of the building. But as the manager unlocked the door, a masked man wielding a gun abruptly pushed his way in, according to a news site. The masked man was quick on the trigger, but didn't expect the guy who was leaving to be carrying a different kind of Big Mac, apparently. Birmingham Police spokesman Sergeant Brian Shelton said 1 teen and 2 adults were wounded in the incident. 1 later died at a local hospital. Sergeant Shelton praised the father's actions. Quote, "Right now it appears the victim made a decision that cost his life and the father made a decision that preserved his and his children's life," Shelton said. That's how life is supposed to go. Police haven't released all the details, but by his comments, Sergeant Shelton clearly implied the robber is the one who bought the farm, and the father saved his children's lives by acting with his own legally carried firearm. Again, another happy story. This is another happy story from the WashingtonTimes.com. The headline, "Do not come. Homeland Security Chief says migrant caravan is not getting in. Stop." Why is this story important, BZ? And BZ replies, even though he has only 9 minutes left before the end of his show, this. This is the mindset, the determined mindset of people that you have installed in various important positions on the cabinet in Trump's White House today. If we are stupid enough that we don't go to the polls, we don't show up, we don't vote red on November 6th, 6 days from now, we got to toss in all our absentee ballots. We got to get out and vote red on November 6th because, as Mr. Helms said, oh so long ago, Democrats don't win elections, Republicans lose them. I fervently believe this election is ours to lose because the Democrats are in a terrible position. They have nothing to offer people except hate and discontent and violence. And there will be hate and there will be discontent and there will be violence, continued violence, if leftists take the House, which is why this is a happy story, because you won't get in the House or the Senate, if we happen to lose the Senate, you're not going to get people like this saying that the migrant caravan is not getting in. Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, stop. Kirstjen Nielsen, what do we know about her? Oh, that's right. She was the person that Democrats thought it would be a wonderful idea to piss off when they went and confronted her in a restaurant and basically drove her out of the restaurant. Just like Maxine Waters said, get out, get in their grills, get in their faces. And so they did. Payback, anyone? I can't. People are not going to say this. They're not going to admit it. But I fervently believe that Democrats doing these kinds of things to folks on the right and conservatives, this becomes a motivator. Let this be a motivator for you. As a conservative, mail in that absentee. Get out to the polls on Tuesday, next Tuesday, 6 days from now, November 6th. Use this as an impetus, an inspiration to get out and vote these bastards out of office. These leftist, socialist Democrats out of office. I'm sorry, I may have been offensive there for a moment and not sufficiently inclusive. What I meant to say, vote these bastards and bastardettes out of office. My apologies for that. Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen on Sunday said the migrant caravan marching through Mexico to the U.S. is, quote, not getting in. There's a legal way to get into this country. Those who chose to enter illegally will be stopped, Ms. Nielsen told Fox News Sunday. Tens of thousands of migrants, including as many as 7,000 that are part of the latest migrant caravan, have been streaming north hoping to exploit tax enforcement, or lax enforcement, I should say, of U.S. laws to gain a foothold there. Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't play it here because it wouldn't mean anything. But while on Twitter today, someone posted a video of a Union Pacific train with two big yellow locomotives on the front pulling an assload of flat cars behind it at high speed in Arizona, as the person who posted the video says, going south. Well, what was on these flat cars? Well, it would be nothing but military vehicles, support vehicles, gas vehicles, Hummers, many other support broken down vehicles, military vehicles, and tanks. And I watch this video, and it keeps going and going and going and going. Something tells me that someone in this administration is very serious about the border situation. And it's about time that anyone in charge of situations like this in D.C., it's about time that they do take this very, very seriously. Here's, okay, this is going to be my last one. Tucker Carlson tonight, and I was lucky enough to grab this clip real quick, and this is going to be the last clip of the night. He talks about the citizenship debate, and he also talks about, wait, why is it that we should be working at ends, at odds against ourselves with regard to anchor babies and people that come here into the United States just to have children to get to become part of our largesse? This is what Tucker Carlson had to say.
In fact, there is no more serious debate than the debate over citizenship, and it's long overdue. Globally, birthright citizenship is the rare exception. It is not the rule. Canada and the U.S. are the only developed countries that have birthright citizenship. Not a single European country allows it. Out of the 54 countries in Africa, only 2 offer birthright citizenship. Are the other 52 racist? How about Harry Reid? Is he a racist too? Watch the former Democratic Senate Majority Leader explain his views on birthright citizenship.
Listen to this.
If making it easy to be an illegal alien isn't enough, how about offering a reward for being an illegal immigrant? No sane country would do that, right? Guess again. If you break our laws by entering this country without permission and give birth to a child, we reward that child with U.S. citizenship and guarantee of full access to all public and social services this society provides. And that's a lot of services. Is it any wonder that 2/3 of the babies born at taxpayer expense at county-run hospitals in Los Angeles are born to illegal alien mothers?
Okay, stop. By the way, this speech by Harry Reid, massive leftist Harry Reid, this is back in 1993. Now, I'm sure you can imagine the statistics since 1993 in Los Angeles County, can't you?
Now, as a factual matter, that's tougher than anything Donald Trump has ever said. Keep in mind that just 4 years ago, that man, Harry Reid, was the top Democrat in the Senate. Try saying that today. He'd be called Bull Connor and shouted off the stage. But the questions he raised are still fair questions. Is unlimited birthright citizenship helping this country, or is it hurting this country? Under our current system, illegal immigrants who come to the U.S. and have children are eligible to receive tax credits, food stamps, other welfare benefits. Those are huge incentives. Not surprisingly,
Yes.
1 in every 12
Yes.
births in this country right now is to someone here illegally. And that total does not even include birth tourism.
1 in every 12 persons born here is born illegally. Process that for a moment.
Every year, tens of thousands of foreign nationals come to this country on tourist visas solely to give birth to children.
Tourist visas, tourist babies, to be members of the United States. Process that.
The Chinese are strongly overrepresented in this. One ad in China offers, quote, high-end U.S. birth tourism specialists, end quote. For just $20,000, these experts navigate clients through the process of having a child in America. In return for that $20,000, their kids gain the right to Social Security, Medicare, countless other federal programs. If they come back to the U.S. for college, they get in-state tuition, federally backed student loans, financial aid, all the benefits that ought to be going to actual Americans who are drowning in college debt.
All on your dime, ladies and gentlemen, all on your taxpayer dollars.
This is a scam. There is no other word for it. And by the way, don't blame the Chinese or the Russians or the Salvadorans or anybody else using the system. We're the ones offering it. Why wouldn't they take it? The blame lies with us. No other country would allow itself to be relentlessly exploited like this for decades.
Can you think of any reason why this should continue? I certainly can't.
Monsieur! Es un Wort!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. Thanks to Mike Moore for being here the entire first hour. Sorry, there's not going to be a Sackheads Against Tyranny show tomorrow. Sackheads Clint is unavailable. If you want to find me, you want to contact me, you can go to my Twitter handle at BZEP, BZEP, or my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. Promotional consideration is by Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. Tiaras are by My Little Pony. And also, more promotional consideration by Pratt & Whitney Engines. Thrust you can trust. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I will be consorting in less than an hour. Also, to let you know, you will be able to soon buy Kettle One, BZ, Kettle One refueling team t-shirts at the Zep Works. You didn't know that, did you? Okay, coming back Thursday. I will be back Thursday night. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks to Mike Moore. Thanks to you for listening live. Thanks to you for interacting in chat. Thanks to the American trucker, you make America move. And thanks to everybody who listens in podcast. God bless. Take care. Good night.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.